You told me that you were so hyperactive as a kid, you broke how many bones falling out of the window?
I think 30, 31 or something.
31 bones,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
falling out of your mum's window.
Song cake.
Don't Let It Go to Waste.
Banger.
What an album.
That song especially is, I don't know, I felt a lot of pressure with that song. Did you?
I don't know, I was just excited. It was the first thing me and Julian had ever produced together.
Yeah.
So we were just excited
Yeah.
because we get to go to Abbey Road and record orchestras and stuff.
Yeah.
But there is a bit of pressure. I remember phoning up Al Clay, who was a bit of a mentor, and I said, I'm a bit worried we're doing this big pop star, because, you know, you're a pop star. And he's like, just make it sound like you want it to sound.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Mate.
And it did. It came out exactly how we wanted it to sound, which was Def Leppard.
Not as much Rush as you would like.
There was bits of Rush in
Bits
there.
of Rush in there.
Julian tried to, there's mainly Def Leppard, I think.
Yeah, mainly Def Leppard, a lot of Def Leppard. Yeah.
So you come from Busted.
Yeah.
You were in Busted when we started doing this, right? Still,
Well,
we started.
Yeah, we met at Wembley, was it?
It was night 14 of your 14-night residency at Wembley Arena.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound shit, does it?
That's pretty cool. Can you say that again?
Yeah, 14 nights.
14 nights, yeah.
And doing the math on that, that's what, 15,000 people, no, what, 12,000 people at Wembley? 13.
12,000, yeah.
So that's 2 stadiums.
Yeah, nuts.
And I remember you going crazy. I remember Charlie not going crazy.
Yeah.
I think Emma was there.
Yeah. We'd only just started dating, I think.
Yeah.
It was really fresh.
She was still on MTV, wasn't she?
She was, yeah.
Do you remember MTV?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so Emma was there. I was sitting next to Emma and watching
Were you sat
you.
next to her?
Well, near her. I'd spotted
yeah.
her, 'cause I remember from MTV. And I was watching you on stage thinking, oh, this guy's amazing, looking like you're loving it.
It's a really weird time because that when Busted was first out, like when we first started, like me and James wrote everything on acoustic guitars, like, and then we kind of got signed, and we got Charlie in, you know, about kind of 2 weeks before we signed a record deal.
Oh, really?
Literally.
So you'd got the songs at that point?
We had the whole first album written, and we'd been to these record companies, and they'd all said no.
Really?
Like me and James had kind of been to record companies, just the two of us, and they were like, "You're two weird-looking skater kids who can't skate," and like it doesn't make any sense, you know. And then we held an audition in London, and like loads of people came down, and Charlie walked in.
Didn't Tom come down?
Tom Fletcher came down as well, and our management loved him. They loved him. But I went to school with Tom, and he was a couple of years younger than me, and I didn't really get on with him very well at school. And I was like, he was some dorky kid from a couple of years lower than me. It was never in my radar that he was going to be in the band.
Yeah.
And little did I know, management had said to him, you know, you're in.
Oh, really?
You know, you got it. You know, and there was going to be 4 of us, like in management's eyes, but me and James were like, no, we just want Charlie. And so we got Charlie.
Why? Is that because I think the best bands in the world are 3 pieces.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
Rush, The Police, The Jam.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision
Beastie
to be
Boys.
Beastie
Yeah.
Boys, Blink, Green
Yeah.
Day?
Yeah.
Green Day, yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision to be a 3-piece?
Well, I just felt like we didn't need another guy. Do you know what I mean? Like we had what we really were missing was this kind of handsome, great vocalist, lead singer. That's what we really felt that we were missing. And Charlie just ticks every box. So why would we have someone else? It just didn't make sense to me. And so the whole album was written, and then we basically got Charlie in. We re-recorded vocals with him on the major songs. We went back into record companies, and we got offered a deal from everyone.
Really?
So it was like we literally were missing that.
Charlie felt quite smug about that.
Charlie was like, all right, okay, don't
I'm
worry, boys, I've got you. I've got you.
this.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know what year that would have been.
That was 2000. Yeah, 2000, 2001.
And you made the first record with Steve Robson.
Steve Robson did the whole record with us. We made demos with him. Like we did a deal. James had a 4-track in his bedroom.
Right.
And we recorded everything on this 4-track, and they sounded awful. They sounded like boys in the bedroom making a 4-track recording. And so we made a deal with Steve Robson that we would sing. He'd written a song for Westlife, some really Irish-sounding song. And he had wrote this song, and he was like, if you boys come and sing the demo for that, I'll record one of your demos at the same time.
Oh, really?
So he did What I Go to School For us. And,
was that the first song you did with him?
First song we did with him,
But that was written in James's bedroom?
In James's bedroom,
This is
well, actually in James's downstairs, like, dining room area.
It's interesting, because people don't see that when they think of Busted, do they?
Yeah.
That James and you have written these songs.
Yeah. Well, we were writing for years. We were writing for about 2 years, and we kind of went through different levels of being okay at it. You know, like when we first started, we were just writing love songs, really. You know, and it was kind of, and we had this song called "She Knows," which was our best song.
Right.
And that didn't even make the album. You know, so it was like, and then literally, I bought the American Pie 2 soundtrack, and I listened to it every day. Everywhere I went, I had my CD Walkman. I would just listen to this thing, and I brought it to James's house and was like, "Dude, listen to all this." And it just opened up this kind of like world of kind of American pop punk. And at the time, like Blink were just breaking on MTV and all these kind of bands and Sum 41, and so we massively got inspired by that. So we kind of took what we were writing, which was kind of almost like Backstreet Boys-y sounding songs.
Yeah.
And like we were obsessed with Max Martin. If you think of what I go to school for, it's like, it's even got those stabs. So like, Dan, that's what I go to school.
Right,
it's all Max Martin.
Very
you know,
Max
it's
Martin,
all
yeah.
Max Martin.
Yeah.
And,
'Cause Max Martin is basically rock music without guitars.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we took his structures. We didn't know what a pre-chorus was, you know, and so like we took the way he wrote songs and we did it like that, you know. And then we literally were so inspired by Blink and all these bands that we started to make them fun and kind of just write about silly songs that we just felt were funny. And that seemed to grab more people's attention.
James's American accent, which is prevalent,
Yeah.
was that a thing that he turned on because he liked Blink and stuff, or did he always sing that way?
I mean, he always sung a bit like that. I mean, he was more almost musical theatre sounding when I first met him.
Right.
But then I think hearing those pop punk records, he just wanted to sound like them.
Yeah.
You know, so he kind of really leaned into it. He's never leaned out of it. Yeah.
So Charlie comes along, you record
Charlie
the
comes
first
along,
album, which is called...
We record the first, so we had these demos, which were pretty good, like they were sounding like pretty
Yeah.
much what you hear,
Yeah.
you know, and Charlie came along. I mean, I remember the arguments we had for live drums were such a big thing. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Charlie really wanted live drums in the album, and Steve Rodson was adamant that we didn't need them, and so we didn't use live drums, which really annoyed him.
And that gave it more of a pop sound.
It sounded more like what was on the radio at the time,
Yeah.
you know, and which they were like constantly like, you got to think of what's on the radio at the time, and I didn't really care. I was like,
Yeah.
sounds good to me, you know. But
And you always wanted to be a pop star, right?
yeah, for as long as I can remember. You
Yeah.
know. Well, I mean, I never really thought I would be, but you know, when I think back, like I was singing along to Robbie Williams since I was a kid, and you know, like I wanted to be like that.
I remember when we first met, we'd gone to a pub, that's another story. I think you had to carry me back.
Yeah.
And you told me that you were so hyperactive as a kid, you broke how many bones falling out of the window?
I think 30, 31 or something.
31 bones.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
falling out of your mum's window onto a tree.
Well, there was a tree outside of. So where we lived in this council house at the end of like terraces, and there was a big tree in our garden, like a big, like furry tree. And I used to kind of climb out the window and jump onto it, like, and just hold on, hoping that someone would come to the window, and I'd be like, you know, like, what was I doing? You know. But one time I jumped. I used to fall down all the time, and one time I jumped onto it, and I didn't quite grab it, and I just went brrrr, down. Had all these kind of like scratches all over my body.
No,
It was a nightmare.
In the world of YouTube now, though, that could be your job.
Exactly.
You could make as
I would've
much
been
money
a
doing
star.
that. Yeah,
I would have been a star doing that. Yeah.
So you saw the future.
I did.
So you went for that. You did the first album, which
Yep.
was what was a big single.
I
Year
mean,
3000 was a big.
Year 3000 was the one that, to be honest, everything didn't go according to plan, because everyone was like, "What I Go to School For" was going to be a massive hit.
Right.
And so we released that first. We spent loads of money on the video. I remember turning up at the set for the What I Go to School For video, thinking, you know, shit, I'm a pop star. There's like trucks with lights in and stuff. Like, it was like, and like 100 extras. I was like, wow, this is amazing. We filmed that video. The song came out, and it went to number 3. And the record company,
pretty good.
pretty good. The record company were devastated. They were like, this is not what we want. And so then we released Year 3000 straight after that, and it went to number 2. But that sold the album.
Yeah.
And that was what the album came out off that single, and then it went nuts.
And from a production writing point of view, that song is a classic example of get the intro right. That intro is
Year
huge.
3000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Massive.
Well, that was another real kind of like, I don't know how much of this politics I can talk about, but we had a real moment where like Steve Rodson wanted writing on the song, and James was like, well, me and Matt wrote the song. What? And he was like, what did you write? And he was like,
It's a big hook.
which is a big fucking hook,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And at the time, James was like, well, songs are melody and lyrics, you know, like that's a production thing.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, it was kind of like, dude, this is a really massive part of the song.
Yeah.
He now understands how big that was, but at the time he couldn't get his head around it.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it was a big
Great song, innit?
Yeah.
So that went well. Big pop star, living the life,
Yeah.
living the dream, as they say.
Yeah.
Out every night in London, drinking a lot, photo shoots. Back
Yeah.
in the day, you would have done, what, 10 magazines a day? Like literally.
That was kind of what it was, yeah.
Promo,
it was really weird
promo.
because we never really felt like, you kind of imagine it being this like around pop stars all the time, kind of like you're in that world, but we weren't really. We were really separate. We never really. The only time we ever, I remember going on the Smash Hits tour, which was like back in the day. That was where like if you were a big up and coming band, you perform on that, you know. And we were kind of like, I remember walking out of my dressing room and Atomic Kitten were walking down the hallway. And I was like blown away. I was like, oh my god, you know, so parts of So Solid crew were in the corridor. I was like, what the hell is happening to my life? You
I'm
know?
part of this.
Yeah, I'm part of this.
What
world,
an
apparently.
amazing feeling. That's
Yeah,
weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it was cool. It was
It's
cool.
that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to
Yeah,
have your whole
yeah.
life.
Well, yeah, I'm holding on to that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
So you've done that. It's massive. And then I get a call through my friend Julian Emery, who co-produced this album with us.
Yeah.
We'll talk about to come and write some songs with him to pitch to Ireland, Paul Adam at Ireland. I didn't know Paul, but I was in the band and we had a bit of kudos at the time, so I knew I could get the phone answered. And me and Jules made a few demos for a few songs. Some of them ended up on this album.
Yeah.
And Paul loved them so much, he's like, you got to go meet Matt.
Yeah.
So I went to see you at Wembley. It's
I
the
didn't know
first time
any
I
of this,
seen-
this had happened.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
And I went to Wembley, the gig was amazing,
Yeah.
14 nights, a present for everyone else tour.
Yeah. We'd done the Present for Everyone
good tour when you
tour
can have anything else.
So we'd already done that tour. We'd already toured earlier in the year, so this is our second tour of the year.
So how many Wembleys would you done across
I don't know.
2 tours?
Loads. But we toured in the beginning part of the year, which was the Present for Everyone tour.
Yeah.
And then we did it again at the end of the year, which is Present for Everyone else.
And in between that, Air Hostess had come out, right?
Yeah. Second album had come out.
Which is still one of my favourite ever songs.
It's one of mine too.
Incredible.
To Play Live is my favourite. Although it starts with the bass riff every night, we open with it, and so every night I've played that song thousands of times, and I get that. It fucking makes me shit my pants every time.
So
I've never played it right.
people that don't know, right?
Yeah.
You've got accounting in your ear.
Yeah.
Because of the video.
We've got screens, we've got explosions happening, we've got everything
All
kind of
cued.
all cued. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I start the show.
So what if you came in on 8 by accident one night? You just wouldn't do it. Or you
we-
can't hear the count or whatever.
Well, luckily that's never happened.
Right.
But I mean, that would be a disaster because we have to start the song again.
Right.
And
Well,
then
I love that when that happens.
Yeah,
But
you love that. Yeah, exactly.
So you're
yeah.
playing that bass live? Because
Yeah.
again, people
Yeah.
look at Busted and don't realise that.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
that
now, but this is the thing that we're kind of getting to. So back in the day with Busted, when we got signed, we all play guitar. And they were like, you can't be the fucking Three Amigos. One of you has to play something else, you know. So I was like, and I was the worst guitar player. So they were like, right, you can play bass.
No one listens to bass. Who cares?
No one listens to bass. Who cares?
Yeah.
You can play bass. And I absolutely hated it. Like, it didn't come naturally to me. I was a singer, and I wanted to be able to perform. And this thing just had me trapped in this world.
Big, heavy thing.
This big, heavy thing that was really hard to play. And also, it's like alternate rhythms to what I'm singing. Like, I'm used to playing chords and singing along to the rhythm.
Yeah.
And this was like, you know, like it was so strange. It was like everything about it was fine. Then I'd lock in here, then I'd have to sing, and it would all go to tits here. So like I'd just be like, everything about this I hated, and it stopped me from being able to perform. And so that was kind of it was always in the back of my head, you know.
Because at this point you're doing arenas to kids basically, right?
Yeah.
Who want to see you jump around and be Mad Matt.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
Geddy Lee from Rush standing there playing
So
bass.
as soon as I
Two
they were
Rush
like, right, you can mime 80% of the set and play 20% of the set.
Right,
So,
really?
So I was actually stoked by that because I was like, if I play, I'm restricted. I'm standing there, tongues out, and I'm just like
Concentrated face.
It's just like it's just awful. And so I was okay with that. And also I got 20% of the set where I could play, you know. And and I would work really hard at those songs, and in the time I had to kind of get them ready to be able to play live. And then, I mean, little did I know that our manager, so I was really proud of these songs that I was playing because I worked hard at it, you know, and I wasn't a bass player, you know, so it was kind of a new thing for me, and I worked really hard at it. And little did I know that our manager every night just turned me down and turned the track up.
No.
You know, I didn't know that, you know, until years later when I saw our sound guy. We were talking about back in the day, and he goes, "You know, your fucking manager used to maybe turn you down every night." And I was,
How did that make you feel?
like shit, you know. Even though it was years past the fact, it still hit me, you know, because it didn't make any difference to that gig because I didn't know. I was just playing, and I could hear him in my ears. Everything was going well, and I felt good about it. Little did I know that it was not really happening, you know. But in fact, you know, the thing is, I don't look back at that as in such a bad way anymore. For years, that would have really affected me and really stuck with me. But now, that really drove me to kind of really master this thing, you know. And like now, I've practiced for years, you know. Like even when Busted wasn't a thing, I took lessons. I fucking practice. So like now, I feel really comfortable with this instrument in my hand.
It's amazing how those little moments inform the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I think you were told me once that somebody in the crew made a remark after a gig.
Yeah.
And it stuck with you forever.
It still sticks with me, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird, like I don't really, it's not like a resentment anymore. It's kind of like, but it did, I was walking off stage and they were kind of, I could hear them taking the piss out of me, you know, and like two crew members. And I was so angry, you know. I didn't say anything, you know, because I was a kid, you know, like, and there was just two big men taking the piss out of me, you know, and but it really made me go, I'm gonna fucking show you, you know.
And you just played in front of 15,000 people.
Yeah.
But that's your memory, is those two people taking
Absolutely.
the piss.
For years, that was my memory.
Everyone says that. You look out at a crowd and you see the two people giving you the finger.
Yeah.
You don't see the 20,000 people.
You don't see the
clapping.
20,000. It's the same now. I mean, I feel sorry for kids with Instagram and stuff, you know, because they get all these comments on, and like most of them will be amazing. One of them will be shit, and that's the one they'll focus on.
Yeah.
You know, so that's now turned up to 1,000. You know, for people you know, releasing music now.
Yeah. But that kind of stuff informs you, and then when you get some creative freedom, when you become your own boss and you're doing your solo album, then those kind of things kind of encourage you to do things a different way, right?
Yeah,
it's your
maybe
chance to prove to those people that
sometimes in the right way, sometimes in the wrong way. I think, you know. But I think that's the thing. Like, when you came to see that gig, we knew Charlie was leaving.
Yeah.
You know, like I got a phone call telling me that Charlie was leaving the band. You know, like when we played Wembley, I didn't know that. Right. You know, like well, maybe I did. No, I must have known by then.
I was with you in the studio doing these songs, which we thought were for Busted, when you got a phone call saying, you're splitting up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I didn't see you for a month. You went off. God knows where you went. But you went out of your mind somewhere. I blame you.
Yeah, man. It was a really weird time.
In fact, I think there's a video of it on here somewhere. Of that press conference, which I remember watching live, thinking, I was only with him yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I've been awake for 24 hours or so when I did that press conference. It was a bit of a blur. You know, it's really weird, like, because I could see it happening. I knew Charlie was doing another band. I knew his heart and soul was in that. When you came to see the gig, you saw how like unenthusiastic he was, you know, and he just didn't want to be there anymore. So I knew that was coming, but still, when it happens, you're like, I don't know, like that was who I was, you know, at the time. I was Matt from Busted. You know, what am I going to do now? Who am I going to be? What am I going to do with the rest of my life?
You were Matt J.
Matt J from Busted.
Or Beer Matt.
Yeah, Beer
As
Matt.
the song called you.
Yeah, exactly. I was telling my kids about that the other day. I was in the paper almost every day. They had a little Beer Matt in the corner. There's a different picture of me falling out of a nightclub. Don't do that, kids.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Song cake.